Hello and welcome to the first week of Healthy Conversations. This week we're going to be looking at fashion. We're going to be looking at the fashion industry, fast fashion and what it's doing to the environment, and we're also going to be doing an exciting challenge, Ellie. We're going to be doing a charity shop challenge where we're going to be shopping in Hammersmith for each other and getting some outfits. Shall we go?
Let's go.
Let's go.
These are the fits. Ethan, I'll go first. What do you think, bro?
Out of 10.
Out of 10? Yeah, okay. I'd like to give it a 7 out of 10.
7?
Can I ask why is one sleeve out and one sleeve still in?
Because
Because we're showing the two different ways you can do
It's
it.
Okay, got you.
fashion.
So you wouldn't wear it out on the street like that?
No, you do
Just a
both.
question. Okay.
7 out of 10.
Fashion.
Pros and cons.
Pros and cons. I think the trousers are great.
Mhm.
I think I love a white top. It does look like you're going to school, so I can't imagine the diversity in how you'd wear it basically.
Okay.
I think maybe elements, you could probably wear that jumper in other places.
Yeah, I could do.
Yeah, I get it. I do
Awesome.
like it though.
Sicker.
Yeah.
Sis, please.
I like it. I do. Out of 10? Out of 10? I actually think it's... Oh man, I think it's like around an 8 or 9 out of 10, you know?
8 or a 9.
Yeah.
Those drama teacher vibes are winning it.
Can you see what I'm wearing?
Yeah, I think it looks great.
Emily,
I
what
think it
do
looks
you
really
not
good.
like about the outfit?
What don't you like about
Just out of
it?
interest, not that you're the judge, but
Absolutely everything.
Whoa, okay.
Okay, so me personally, like, you know, I wouldn't personally wear any of it. But, no, actually, to be honest, I'd probably wear the top. The top, and if the blazer was like my style, I'd probably wear it. I like a blazer and I like a white top. I do like a blazer.
Put on Emily though.
And I think, like, for me, it just has more diversity in where you can wear it, what you can do with it, where you can wear it to places. Basically, you can wear it in different places. In terms of fashion, I prefer this look.
Okay.
As the judge, who was one? Me and Jonathan, or Emily and
The
Daniel?
look that I prefer would be this one.
There you
So,
go.
is that Jonathan?
GG.
Well done, everybody.
Well played. And on
Well
that
played.
note, I'm gonna
See
grab
you
a
at
seat.
parents' evening, everybody.
Grab a seat.
So today we're going to be chatting about fashion, and the reason that we got you guys an outfit is because we want to talk about like why it's important to shop sustainably, like the impact it has on the environment, the impact it has on people, and like why that links in to our faith. And so we're going to center it around these three Bible verses, which is Matthew 6:26 and 27, Micah 6:8, and Luke 12:15. So first, if we have a look at Matthew 6, 25, 26 and 27, it says in verse 26, "And why do you worry about your clothing? Look at the lilies of the field and how they grow. They don't work or make their clothing. Yet Solomon in all his glory was not dressed as beautifully as they are." So I wondered what you guys thought of that, about if God clothes the flowers and all of this and they don't need to worry about it, how does that reflect the way that we worry about our clothes? I don't know about you, but when I come to the wardrobe in the morning, I'm like, what am I going to wear today? And it can be a bit of a stress, and then you get to a point where you're like, oh, do I need to buy more clothes? Because you're kind of bored of your clothing. And yeah, do you think the way that you consume your clothes as well reflects this attitude of not worrying about your clothing?
Yeah, I think it's a hard one because, like you say, I definitely come to my wardrobe every morning and I'm like, I have nothing to wear. But I own so many clothes. But that I can read that and be like, oh yeah, makes sense. Actually, what I wear doesn't matter. But that's not reflected in often how I treat my fashion. I try and buy sustainably or from charity shops, but I definitely can fall into the trap of being it's sustainable, therefore I need to buy more clothes, which I don't. I've got stuff.
Yeah.
I think an interesting thing for me is a mindset shift. So yes, on one hand you've got clothing and it says in the verse not to care about it, but then also God created creativity. And so I think in the morning, I think it's very much a perspective thing where it's okay, I want to be creative because some people enjoy their clothes, some people don't. And my dad, he'll wear the same shirt, same trousers, he's rocking the fit, say less, he's looking cool, but he doesn't put that much emphasis on it, it doesn't really bother him. Whereas I'd say, your boy likes to look drippy, so we put a little bit more thought into it. But there's a line where it's it shouldn't consume, it shouldn't be I guess the priority of your day, or if it has I guess it can have an effect on how you feel. Confidence is cool, look good, feel good, all that type of stuff. But it's that priority dilemma. Is it you putting it above God, how you look, or you putting value on your clothes more than certain things in your life, like being generous or being kind? It's oh, I gotta look cool. That's above that. So I think it's very much a balance thing for sure.
Yeah. I think for me, it's that thing of actually, it's not a worry for me. I physically enjoy fashion. I enjoy styling. I would rather spend an afternoon charity shopping than I would gaming. So the guys in the room probably enjoy gaming, and so that's their hobby. For me, my hobby is literally going out and styling clothes. It's making TikToks about outfits. That's what I enjoy doing. I don't want anyone watching this who's I love clothes and I don't want to stop buying clothes, or I don't want to stop wearing clothes because I have a passion for clothing. We're not saying stop, because you shouldn't be putting it above other things. It's kind of like Jonathan was saying, finding your line and knowing that it's not consuming you. And if you enjoy clothes, just do it in a way that's kind to the people across the sea.
Yeah, I was going to say, I guess working out a way that you can do that without it consuming you, and also whilst being sustainable. We'll talk a bit in a minute about how it affects people and the world and stuff, and why that's important. But yeah, definitely agree.
Yeah, I think as what everyone's kind of touched on, it's about where, well, obviously this conversation is about fashion. It's where fashion, where you hold it basically in your life, its priority. Is it becoming an idol? Because the point where you start worrying about it a lot and it kind of takes over your mind and your time, then it starts taking that's time and thoughts away from obviously God. Yeah. And this is the subtitle for this next few verses is do not be anxious. And the whole idea of being anxious is you are worried or you're just uncertain about the outcome. And that goes against the whole trusting God kind of thing. And I think that's the place of not worrying about what you're gonna wear is not not caring what you're wearing. It's more just you've got clothes. There are clothes there. And actually just trusting that God will always provide kind of thing. So it's just a matter of where that time and that energy and other thoughts is going when it comes to fashion, basically,
Yeah.
there's a difference between worrying about what you're wearing in the morning. Like for me, I plan what I'm wearing the day before, so I don't need to worry, you know.
Yeah.
I think there is a part of like wisdom that comes on our part to make sure like actually that time and energy is being made and put to good use, basically. So.
And you can turn it into worship, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Like everything can be used to worship the Lord, so
Absolutely.
you do it in a way.
Yeah, looking at the wardrobe.
Yeah.
Lord, shine through my clothes today.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
It's great conversation starter, I guess.
I also think it's really interesting that like that verse, I don't know, like there wasn't a big fashion cult. Well, I don't know, maybe Jesus was like really cool dressed, but there wasn't like a big fashion culture at that time, whereas like now it seems so much more relevant in terms of like fashion seems to have so much more importance. And I think it's really interesting that even then Jesus was challenging people on like what they'll wear. I also think that like with fashion culture there becomes like this disconnect. Like in that time people would have known exactly where their clothes were coming from because like chances are they probably made them themselves, right? Whereas today like there's a massive disconnect with like especially clothing in the Western world and actually like the impact that it's having on people and the planet. And so I have some statistics here that I want to share with you guys and like see your opinions of. And yeah, we're also going to be looking at Micah 6:8 in this part. So I think it's important to look at both the human effect and the effect that it actually has on like the environment as a whole. So firstly, looking at the human effect, this one is shocking. So 93% of the brands surveyed by the Fashion Checker, so like 93% of most of the brands that we know, aren't paying garment workers a living wage, which is just shocking. Like that's like 93%. That's pretty much like if you're going into a shop, you can almost guarantee that those garment workers, so the people that have made the clothes there, aren't being paid enough that is like seen as able to live on. And another one which I think is really interesting is that 68% of fast fashion brands, so like ASOS, Zara, like all of these kind of brands, don't maintain gender equality at production facilities. And both these stats have come from reliable resources. So Fashion Checker 2020 was the first one and the Ethical Fashion Guide in 2019 was the second one. And then if we have a look at the environmental effect as well, the fashion industry is responsible for 8% of carbon emissions, which is, when you think of like, it doesn't sound like a lot, but when you think of like fashion and the like impact it has on the world, like that's a significant amount. You've then got like food, you've got like cars and stuff like that. Like that's a pretty big number when you put it into perspective. The textile sector still represents 10 to 20% of pesticide use, so that's like planting and stuff. And when you again bring into that like farming and stuff, that's a significant amount. Less than 11% of brands are implementing recycling strategies for their items, which like when you think about fast fashion, a lot of people will buy stuff then throw it away. There's no recycling going on there, so it goes straight into landfill and adds to like the massive waste problems that we have in the world. And lastly, washing solvents and dyes used in manufacturing are responsible for 1/5 of the industrial water pollution, which again is a really big number. And when you start to look at this and you start to see how the clothes that you're buying are like impacting people, they're impacting the world, I think it's really important as well to like respond to that in a Christian way, not just emotionally, but if we look at Micah 6:8, we're called to act justly. I think especially with the human impact, like that's not really what's happening if you're buying clothes from these places. Like you are buying into an industry that is treating people in a way that is unjust. So I was wondering like what you guys think after hearing those stats. Like what does that make you feel, first of all, and like what should we do in response to that, and yeah, like how can we respond in a Christian way? There's a lot of information there.
Makes me feel like I've gone off food. Like, you know when you eat something and it's just, oh, this is just a little bit off. It's like, that's a bit, oh, it's yuck. Like it's the fact that I've probably heard these statistics before. I've probably heard bad things before. Yeah, I've shopped at Zara in the last year. You know what I mean? And it's kind of that thing of, wow, I really need to start taking account. I mean, I have begun, but it needs to become a thing of, this ends now. I need to take we all need to take accountability for what we do in life, and like especially since we as Christians are called to love people. And if we know that buying an item of clothing is coming from some random person in a different country who is not being paid enough money, who is probably in the worst conditions you can think of, and is probably a woman or a child, and I will happily buy it, that's when you know you have a problem and that you're actually not loving well. Because it's easy to love your friend. It's easy for me and Ethan to be lovely to each other right now because I can see the effect of my actions on Ethan. I cannot see the effect of my actions on that poor woman in another country who is making my ripped jeans. I can't see it. But it is just chance that she is there and I am here. I am so blessed by the Lord. Like, I am, as a Christian, I believe in Jesus and I believe He has blessed me heavenly by putting me in England. But I could have easily been put there. I could have easily been that woman praying that someone won't buy these garments so that something can happen.
I think it's really important to add though that like don't feel like guilty or like Emily says, like she shopped at Zara in the past year. Like one of the things that these brands are really good at is hiding that. Like you say, you don't see these people, and so for anyone who's watching this, like, oh my goodness, like I can't believe I've been buying all these stuff. Like there's not guilt or shame, or like it's just the response that you have when you do realize that is what's important. And it's a massive like learning curve as well. Like it can take a long time for you like to stop shopping in those places because it's so natural. Like, you know, oh, I need a new pair of socks. You're not gonna like go to a charity shop for that. So I think it is really important to just remember that alongside thinking about how you're gonna change.
I think a big thing as well is like an awareness thing. So like, for example, these stats, prior to doing this health conversation talk, I couldn't say that I knew them. Like the fact that 93% of the main clothing industry do not pay the people who make the garments. Like 93, that's insane, and I wouldn't be aware of that. So I think, yeah, we have a duty to be aware of things, and then off the back of that, yeah, like make decisions. I think slowly but surely, and I think there's something about like growing through it. Like when I was younger, I just wasn't that conscious about it, but actually, like especially our young people now who are more connected through social media and stuff, they're just way more aware. I only got my phone at 14, so that's my excuse. Like I wasn't on some social media thing at 10. So I'm like, oh, but actually now, and I kind of enjoy charity shows, I can't lie, it's kind of a vibe, the vintage feel. But I think, no, the awareness piece is big, and making sure that you're putting yourself in a position to learn more about the topic, just keep investigating. Again, like be aware of the guilt piece, because the enemy will make you try and feel guilty, that, oh, you've gone Primark, you can Zara. But actually, yeah, there's a time and a place, and it's like, yeah, just however we all feel. Like I guess we'll all have different levels of conviction. So some people will feel fine shopping at Zara, and then some people will be like, nah, complete charity shop switch. And that's okay, we'll all be on a spectrum.
It's a gradual process as well. If you decide one day I'm never going to shop at a fast fashion or like non-ethical brand again, like you're almost setting yourself up for failure, because like if you just make those kind of big decisions straight away, like you really do need to have grace with yourself in that, because it'll make it more effective in the long run as well.
For sure.
Just like to look as well, like the environmental effect, like what does that make you feel? Ellie, I'm going to ask this to you.
It really, like this whole thing, it rips my heart out. I think all of those stats are just so hard-hitting. And that one about the water, what was the stat, sorry?
So the washing solvents and dyes used in manufacturing clothes are responsible for 1/5 of industrial water.
1/5 is a huge amount. Like that's insane, and I never think of that. And obviously that's in the factories, but also the dyes that they're using in the factories are also the dyes that are in the clothes that we're then washing in our washing machines. So it's not just that it's a thing and you're like, oh, but it's distance. Like it happens. It doesn't stop once it gets to my house. Like I continue to have an effect on that, and I think I definitely fall into the thing of like, oh, it's only one thing, like it'll be fine. And as you say, like it's a gradual process, and sometimes you're gonna be like, oh, I need an item of clothing for tomorrow, and I can't order it off or buy it from some other source. But just being aware of every time you do something, it has an effect, and that happens for the negative things, but also happens for the positive things. Like when you buy something that, when you choose to buy in a sustainable way, as opposed to a non-sustainable way, you're having a positive impact that continues on. So like if you're buying something with eco-friendly dyes, like that means that every time you wash it, you're not contributing to this, like the environmental effect. It blows my mind any time I hear stats like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like to add with it, I think it's so important to be graceful towards others, and understand the grace towards ourselves, because I mean I know very few people who are perfect at this issue basically. To share like my personal journey with this is like, as Emily kind of touched on, it can be quite hard because we are disconnected from the issue, basically, from the people who are really suffering. And I really felt that. I'm like, I know people are suffering, but there's definitely a part of me which is like, it's just head knowledge. And so I think there is a possibility of us as Christians that we do have a way out of that. And I think that is like we can pray to God, basically. And what reminds me is like the prayer and the scripture of just like break my heart for what breaks yours, and that is like just basically bring God into a situation of like, God, I know this hurts you and it may not be affecting me now, but I actually want it to affect me, you know. And I think that's a big part of the whole Luke 10 verse 27, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, strength and mind, and love the neighbour as yourself. Yeah, it's like it's a big part of like that, of like showing true love to God is actually also hurting when he hurts and disliking the things that he dislikes. It's a big part of knowing what it is to love God as well. And a big part obviously is that when God's creation, when God's people are hurting, it's also on our part not to feel guilty when we don't, but it's our part to realize like we should feel for these other people. And actually, Lord, I pray for more empathy and more sympathy, and actually, you know, I do want to feel more. And that's definitely something that I've been praying more about, so that I can actually help more of this issue. It's a beginning, it's a start. And in terms of like importance, I know that it's a world issue as well, but obviously like bringing back to God, it's very much a problem and an issue that is God in God's heart. I truly believe, and that's why we're discussing it. And the reason is because I think maybe most of us might know the whole idea of like God calling us to be stewards of the earth. You know, one of the main verses talks about in Psalm 24 verse 1, Psalm of David, the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, the world and those who dwell therein. And it's the idea like everything that is on this earth, God created, and it all belongs to him. And maybe you guys don't maybe not understand what being a steward means. It's basically like, it's being that representative or that supervisor or that caretaker for the owner. And the owner is obviously God. And everything on earth belongs to him. And so, you know, when you think about fashion, it's made from it's basically God's creation. It all came from him. We can't make the clothes without what God provided. So it all belongs to him. And so it is our responsibility, as we are called to be stewards, is to look after it and use it well, and to use it in a way that is honoring to him. And if you've been used in a way which is actually hurting people, that's not honoring to God, and that's not being good stewards. And that's, again, not to make us feel guilty, but more accountable. Like, actually, you know, God may provide these things, but if people are being hurt in it, that's not the way God wanted it to be used, basically.
Yeah.
That's all really God is asking us to do. You know, he's not telling us to stop buying clothes necessarily. He's not telling us to not be stylish. It's just making sure, like, you know, people are still feeling loved by it.
I think just to like finish up, like one way that I feel definitely challenged by this is my response to like consumerism culture. Like consumerism culture as a whole is big, especially in fashion. And really quickly, if we just look at Luke 12:15, it says, then he said, Jesus, beware, guard against every kind of greed. Life is not measured by how much you own. And I think this is really helpful when you are looking at like fashion and stuff. Like I think, especially in the world today, like everyone just wants to own like more clothes, more clothes, more clothes. There's like this whole thing of like consumerism in it. And we're going to chat in a bit about like some really practical ways that we can kind of come against consumerism culture. And like what you're doing in it. But I was just wondering what you guys thought of like consumerism, and I think it as well like links to that whole like being in the world but not of it situation. So yeah, like what do you guys think of that?
Yeah, I think everything we see on social media and on adverts, like adverts are designed to make us feel like we want stuff that we don't want and we don't need. Like I'll watch an advert and be like, wow, that person looks so great, I definitely need that. And I don't, like I've got 10 tops that look like that. But just being aware of it doesn't necessarily change it. So sometimes it does mean like I've had to unfollow some people on social media who like do loads of ads because when they tell me that they love something, I know that even though I know that they're being paid to say that, I still want it because that's what an ad does. So just like being really wise in what I'm looking at, what I'm consuming. That's encouraging me to consume more because I don't need all of these stuff. I have a note on my phone that's like, when I'm like, oh, I really want this thing, I try and write it down and then wait before I buy it, because often I don't actually want it, I just want it in that moment. But yeah.
Yeah. And that thing of like we are called to be set apart as Christians, like it says in I think 2 Corinthians that we're supposed to offer our bodies up to God, and that comes with like loss. Like that means me living right here right now is me living as Jesus in me and for God. And if what I'm doing Jesus wouldn't do, then I probably shouldn't join in. And yeah, that whole consumer culture is like, Christians are not supposed to be joining in consumer culture. Yeah, we're supposed to have fun and we're supposed to enjoy ourselves, and you know, we're not supposed to sit at home staring at a wall wearing a shack, I don't know. But we aren't called to buy the newest thing every single time because it's trending on TikTok, because it's not going to be trending on TikTok in 2 weeks. There's going to be another jacket trending on TikTok in 2 weeks. And it needs to come down to whether we need something. Like, yeah, going, like you said earlier, you're not going to go to a charity shop to buy your socks. Let's be realistic. Rank.
Do they
sorry.
even sell socks at charity shops?
I don't think they do.
I feel like no.
If they do,
Please
interesting.
stop.
But like, it is okay to once in a while go and get yourself something that you need. Like, I have a friend today who's telling me, Emily, I do not own a pair of shorts, and she wants to wear dresses. But right now, if you're in England, it's windy outside, but it's nice and hot, warm. If she wears a dress, it's going to fly up. She wants to wear a pair of shorts under her dress. That is an appropriate reason to go and buy a pair of shorts. She does not own a pair of shorts yet. She needs a pair of shorts to keep her modesty, people. Let her be modest. And there's a point where we just need to decide, right, am I joining in? Am I buying this because I enjoy clothes? Or am I buying this because I want to be matching everyone else and I want to be keeping up with the Kardashians? Sorry. And you just need to decide where you want to be in the world. Do you want to be the same as everyone else, dressing the same, looking the same, being a sheep? Or do you want to look cool, right? That's where it's at, charity shops, man.
Be creative. Try and switch it. Like, use the same clothes, switch it up.
True.
That's my
Shop your
advice.
wardrobe.
That's what I do. Also, once in a while, get out all your clothes, put it on your bed, and just look at it for 10 seconds and be like, that's a lot of clothes. And then tidy it up. And then you'll realize you can just get rid of stuff.
Go in your brother's closet.
Yeah, steal clothes from your family, guys. That's a good way to
True.
get some new clothes.
No one's my size.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Also, look at old costumes. Like costumes that we think
Like Batman.
maybe not Batman, but like So I wore a costume like years ago as like it was like a 2000s costume, and I'd bought it for that party, and now that's in fashion, and it was just at the back of my wardrobe.
Capes.
Those are definitely should come back into fashion.
Wearing capes everywhere you go.
Well,
And run
that's
around.
a great way to finish the conversation. Start wearing capes, everyone.
I'll come back.
Don't do that.
I'll do it.
But yeah, thanks guys for chatting today. All you said has been super interesting.
Thanks for having us.
We'll give you some practical tips of how you can bring all of this new knowledge into like your day-to-day life.
Wow, what a great conversation. I definitely have learned a lot from everything that everyone had to say. And now we're going to do a part where we're going to give you some challenges for how you can actually practically put these things into your day-to-day life. So each week we're going to give you 3 challenges. You can do all 3 of them if you really want to challenge yourself, or if you just want to pick one that you feel is at your level, then that is also a great idea of how you can practically start changing the way you live. So the first challenge for this week is to try shopping secondhand or sustainably for a month. So just getting things from charity shops or places that you know are sustainable.
And our next one is try not to buy anything for just 1 week. And if that feels too easy, maybe try don't buy anything for a month. See what happens.
So our last challenge is to try going through your wardrobe and picking out some outfits that you already have. So from clothes that you already have, maybe you could even do this whilst you're not buying any clothes for that month.
Amazing, and I really hope you've enjoyed listening to our conversation. We're really excited for what this could look like, and why not send us some pictures or let us know how these challenges have gone for you. See you next week.